Yeah, shout out to everybody tuning in and been supporting. Uh, what we doing? Wake and bake and the culture. And I just been thinking like I be scrolling down Twitter and every day I see like Top Rank signed another prospect, and I know Bob and them they get a lot of backlash for the Buzz situation or not paying for certain fights. But the more I think about it, their business model is more beneficial for the boxing fan. And I think with the pandemic, with all of we, if you're in the inner city, you know the inner city got a lot of money during the pandemic. A lot of people that were broke, they came up. And I think that's a big part of the reason a lot of these young fighters signed to Top Rank because along with I think the young generation has a lot of respect for Jay Prince, the young black generation. Seeing him being able to bring Kanye and Drake together, just understanding his impact in the music industry. Young fighters are starting to understand politics. That boxing is bigger than just you being skilled, but also you having a respected hand in the business to ensure that you get a fair shake. So that's why you'll see a lot of the white guys or UK guys sign with Canahan because most likely if he's involved, if it's anything that's crazy behind the scenes, he's strong enough to protect his interest. And the same goes for Jay Prince. So when you go to Top Rank and you a young black fighter, and everybody from your neighborhood or a lot of people from your city, they didn't came up and everybody wearing designer down and all the forms, and you just been boxing, and maybe you missed out or something, but or maybe you just ain't want to hit. You got your chance with Top Rank to get a big check up front. Like Earl said, he turned down the big check and took the long money with Al Heyman. And I think that's easier to do when everybody around you is messed up. But I think in today's time where you have more uh financially in position black people, it's gonna be hard for those young fighters to turn down that money because everybody at least wants to stay level with what's going on around them. And whereas a time where Errol Spence took the money for later, he wasn't having to deal with that going on in society. So I feel like, man, Bob just pulled the power move with pretty much signing all the Olympians. I was reading Rick Glazer. He was saying, while Leonard Ellerby, blah blah blah, he going back and forth with Leonard about the numbers. I don't really care about that. Um, who's man at TMT? They just lost their second best fighter, Xavier Martinez, to Top Rank, and TMT never signed any Olympians, as Aram signed every U.S. male Olympian. Here's a mismatched 90-year-old Aram outmaneuvering, and I'm not just I don't have nothing against TMT Floyd and how they do their bit. And I think they're doing a very good job with Tank. But my point is, I just feel they're outmaneuvering the American boxing market, and maybe it's time for other companies to change the game plan. I feel like the last decade was ran by Al Heyman, Floyd, the free TV that the PPC ran on that we got to watch all the Earl fights, the Sean Porter and Thurman and Earl Bondu. I think we called that. We got a lot of good fights from the goats of the last generation, the Thurmans, the Porters, the Spence. We got to really see them on free TV, and you know that's needed to grow the overall sport. That's why the UFC is as successful as it is, because you can constantly see them. They were on Fox, but then they moved to ESPN. And why? Because ESPN is the cheat code if you're in the business of sports, because it's taken as the most credible source. So if ESPN says it, it seems more legit. So when they do a pound for pound list and they say this guy's pound for pound, then that's what the average person is going to take it as is. Or if you just bored and you looking for something to watch, most likely, or you trying to go to sleep on something, you most likely going to turn to ESPN and you have the luxury as an ESPN fighter to sign to a company where everybody can see you. So it's not like, oh, he just doing that boxing thing, and the average person in your family can't find you. They can find you on ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. And Fox, as I said before, they don't utilize their propaganda machine enough, and they've overpaid fighters for so long. Not knocking. This is just from the. Don't get emotional. This is from the hat of the boxing spectator, the watcher, the just wants the best fights, like the UFC gives their fan base. When you overpay these guys, now you have to pay everybody big bags, and you have two fighters that's getting a big bag. Now you can't put that fight on regular TV. You have to put it on pay per view because again, this is still a niche sport. So you don't want to take your chance and not recouping. So whatever is generated, you want people to pay for. Whereas if you kept everybody at a level like the UFC, or kind of like how Bob Arum does it, you can still be getting a Lomachenko on regular TV. We can get unifications like T.O. and Loma on TV, and I just think Bob gets it. He's not going to do too much. I think his model would do even better if those around him weren't overpaying. I think that's what kind of like by the zone. The zone had to overpay to get in the market. I hope at this point they start cutting back, and I think going forward the PBC needs to start cutting back, or maybe they need to fuse or form an alliance with Bob and Top Rank, or maybe if something happens to Bob and he steps down or passes, Al Heyman need to really be trying to take over Top Rank and bring those two markets together. Because if you want the overall sport to grow, you can't just be thinking about today, because that's going to help your company. The more fans that are tuned in, better for the sport, better for your company, and putting it American boxing on ESPN, it's just the go-to move. It's the no-brainer. Now I feel like Eddie always has a place with the zone, and because they have the zone is going to do well because they have Oscar in that Mexican roster, and they also have the UK. So they're kind of like the international platform, and that's why I put them at number two. Top Rank, they've secured the future with likes of Shakur Stevenson, who's a favorite. Most of the black community in YouTube boxing has him in their pound for pound already. Um, they had years and years of Crawford. Crawford still really didn't want to leave. It just got a little rifty at the end, but that's because Bob is running his model how he runs his model. Sometimes when you get to looking on the other side and you see them overpaying, he probably feel like, all right, I'm undercut. But I feel like in actuality, these guys are just overpaying because you're competing with that reality that they have ESPN. So it's kind of like battle rap. When Battle Rap was on ESPN, it was huge. It was bigger than ever. I mean, not ESPN. When it was on YouTube, everybody could access it. This is the hub where everybody was tuned into. It was one of the biggest pastimes, I want to say, in maybe 2015, 2016, around there, where it reached the peak. Diddy, I think Jay-Z had quoted Lux at a point. Like, it was huge. Everybody could access and view it. But when they went on the app, kind of like how, Showtime is comparable to an app, because it's not just regular TV. It's an extra package that you got to pay for. Fighting on pay per view. It's an inconvenience. It's not just easily accessible to anybody where you could just come by it. You could have just been scrolling down YouTube and came across a battle that you didn't know you want to see, or a name that you heard years ago and just happened to click on it, like, oh man, and now you back into it. Or you could just be flipping through ESPN, whereas I'm never gonna just be scrolling through Showtime. I'm never, just gonna, you know, or a kid just not gonna be picking up a pay per view or somebody they haven't heard. So all of these new faces, the up and comers, they got a chance to build their brand, where the casual could just come across them. Whereas now they're on the app, you have to be a battle rap fan already to even want to tune in to the young battle rappers. Whereas before, the young guys could go from one day nobody to somebody and have a huge fan base that's outside of the core diehard battle rap fans. So whereas it helped them the URL by getting the app, but it hurt the overall sport, and it hurt specific guys on the come up because they was never able to establish their brand with the diehards and with the casuals that might have just come across their million view battle on YouTube. So I just think Bob has positioned Top Rank to run a future, and if I'm on the other side, the PBC, I'm definitely trying to position myself and position my investors as much as possible, or see what the situation is, that in the midst of something happening and he can't run it anymore, that you can grab Top Rank, you get that whole roster, and you get ESPN, and American boxing will go through the roof. It's been too long and too much time for separation. The only other plan I would say, you start cutting back your new class, your new crop. You don't do this overpaying thing, and you get back to regular TV. All of this pay-per-view stuff is ruining the sport, and it's right now on my list. It has PBC as number three, behind Top Rank at number one, and behind the Zone at number two. I mean, just a great move by Bob getting ESPN, and a great move by Bob being able to sign all of the Olympians. You know, everything just lined up the right way. So hopefully PBC doesn't stay stubborn and stuck in this model. And I do look for some adjustments to come in 2022. Other than that, it's Top Rank in the future by a landslide. And the Zone, like I said, the Zone is that American and UK, and it's the international brand. So they'll always probably be comfort. It'll be hard for them to move from number two. So shout out to everybody tuning in. Definitely let me know your thoughts about that in the comments. Um, with the likes of Tiger Johnson, Big Baby out of Toledo, Jared Anderson, Shakur Stevenson, Keyshawn Davis, his brother. The list goes on and on. The future is with Top Rank, and some adjustments will have to be made if you want to compete long term. Best move Showtime did do, though, is getting Jake Paul, but I think they're putting him in a very dangerous fight this weekend against Tyron Woodley. Again, he snuck out of that first matchup. You want to do everything you can to keep him winning, because you have to understand the young fan base don't really care if he's fighting a boxer or a tough competition. They just want to see Jake knock people out. And I that and in that regards, you did a great thing by signing him, but I don't necessarily like this matchup. The other ones were pretty good, but this is a dangerous fight. If he gets out of this, protect Jake at all costs, because that's your biggest asset for the future.